All right, you have your bag of clay. We're gonna open it up and get started. Gonna use my floss. Wrap it around. Just take a thin piece off at a time. Remember to seal it back. You're gonna wanna have a nice clean working surface, whether you use cardboard like I'm using, paper bags, plastic trash liners, whatever you want. You need to protect the space that you're working on because, as you know, this stuff has red iron oxide and it kind of stains, and you don't want it to stain anything. Also, when you're working with clay on a smooth surface like a table, it's gonna stick and you don't want it to do that. So you can use something like newspaper, or I mentioned plastic, anything that's gonna protect your surface. You're also gonna wanna protect your clothing, so wear something that you don't mind getting messed up. So I like to kind of punch the clay down a little bit so that way it's even, and use the back end just to kind of smash it a little bit more level, and then you can use this to smooth it out even more. You can also use this technique where you kind of flop it down, and that makes it nice and smooth. So we're going to be making a coaster for a cup or a mug, and it's important that the template that you use is going to have a wider diameter than the mug or cup itself. So if you want to find a mug at home and then use anything that you find around, an object that's going to have a wider diameter, and you can test it to see if it's going to work by placing your mug on top of your object just to make sure that it's going to work. I'm using some painter's tape. Let's begin. So using my homemade needle tool, you can cut around your object pretty efficiently. These do need feet, so keep any clay that you have off to the side on hand. So here's my beginning little coaster. These have to have a textured surface on top. I'm going to require that you have 5 different textures on each of your 4 coaster panels. So if this was my initial coaster, I'm going to experiment with what I find around my house. So maybe some objects that are edible. You can find a children's toy. You can use a potato masher. And this is a lid from a kombucha. If it gets misshapen, you can always do this texturized first and then lay this on top and cut. Or you can just put your object right back on it and trim anything that has become stretched out. Either way is fine. Flip it over, so you're going to add your feet. Add them wide enough so that way it doesn't tilt. I recommend making a coil and flattening it out so that way it's a little bit more rectangular. To make sure they're all the same size, I like to use a coin. You're going to want to have at least 3 feet, most likely 4. If you wanted to, you can also make a longer snake and wrap it around, scoring and slipping in place here. Just be sure that you use something like a lid and you level it. Okay, just go ahead and set that off to the side. If you want to, you can use your sponge to smooth the edges of your coaster. Please put your name on the inside as well. Bam. You're going to be making 4 of these. If it's too floppy and you have it over, like right side up, it's going to be sinking in. So have an area that you can just let them sit as you make your 4 coasters.